There's no time.
The time is
13
o'clock. What's up, y'all? It's episode 138.
Mm-hmm.
It's Friday night as we're recording this.
That's right. I got my groove on.
He's got his Kool
I'm running
going.
Kool.
I got my, what is this? This is a screwdriver?
Yeah, it's a screwdriver.
It's a very large screwdriver.
Lord Kool has not revealed himself yet to me, but he probably will.
Well,
He's going to reveal himself.
You just started.
Yeah.
Don't get too excited.
Yeah, I'm just warming up for this show, you know.
Yeah.
I had a busy day, so, you know, I'm just trying to unwind. Had to rode up to the VA. Rode a motorcycle all day.
Yeah.
You know, to get there.
You have such a rough life.
Hey, man, they're going to put me on that blood pressure medicine.
I know.
I
was afraid that they would.
I'm telling you, man, this shit's genetic. Everybody in my family has it. They don't die from it.
Yeah.
You know?
It must be because I have always had super, super low blood pressure.
Yeah, because my mother said that both my grandparents on her side, you know, her parents had it, and she has it.
Yeah.
And both of her parents died, but they didn't die, you know, they were ancient.
Yeah.
They lived a long time.
They were 1,000 years
Fucking 1,000 years old, and shit, like some shit out of a Tolkien book. And they didn't die of anything related to heart problems or, you know.
Yeah, I think some people can have, just because, like I've known people that had really high cholesterol and it didn't really seem to, like, give them heart disease or anything like that.
I think some people are built for that.
High cholesterol runs in my family, though. I really have to watch it, like, with eating dairy and meat. And
yeah. They think mine might be high, but they know that blood pressure is high. I knew it was high last year. I knew it was high.
Yeah.
Didn't always used to be that high. All this lifting I'm doing, maybe it'll come back down. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll
maybe.
See.
Like I said, mine's always been super low, you know, my whole entire life.
I don't feel any different.
Yeah, that's true. But we'll see. We'll see if the medication works.
If I die, people, you know.
You heard it here
She'll
first.
carry the show on without me. She'll put a cardboard cutout of me here.
And then I'll just talk and I'll say stuff that I think you would have
Maybe
said.
I shouldn't say that. That might jinx myself.
You just jinxed yourself.
Right.
Don't do that.
Might be dead 2 weeks from now.
Oh, don't say that.
Now I can say it.
Well, no, you already did say it. It's too late. Now you have to say something else to, like, counteract it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would say to counteract it. I don't know how that shit works. But yeah, so anyway, we're doing episode 138, doing another true crime thing, and I think this topic has been requested a couple times, and we've actually mentioned him a few times. I think you mentioned him like on a show a long time ago, but you couldn't remember his name. This is serial killer Dean Corll.
Yeah, you tell me I know who this is, but I can't really place the cases. When you start telling me what it is, I'll start describing it all.
You know what's interesting is that he seems like, this is another one of those ones where it seems like he's not really a household name. I mean, this shit happened like in the early 70s. He's not really a household name, but at the time that he was killed, he wasn't apprehended, he was killed, spoiler alert, by one of his accomplices.
Oh, yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, I knew you did.
Okay, yeah, this bad motherfucker, that's right.
It was at the time.
Yeah, this guy's bad.
He had the highest body count of the time.
This is the one that killed all the boys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's bad.
And I'm always kind of wondering, too, like, they also called him the Candyman, which, for reasons which will become clear later on. So I always wondered if this might have been, maybe not, maybe it's too late, but I was like, is this the genesis of, you know, the creepy guy in the white van giving you free candy and trying to get, because he did that.
I remember this guy. I remember this case well. I just forgot this guy's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
mean,
know what he did with all the bodies.
Because you were talking about him on one of the
other
shows, yeah.
I forgot what his name was.
You were talking about him on one of the other shows, and I think one of our people commented on YouTube that it's like, oh, you're talking about Dean Corll, and I was like, oh yeah, we should do a show about that. So we're finally.
He was mentioned in a bunch of interviews over the years, and he was mentioned in some books that I read over the years. So you know what I mean. I remember I remember some of the details. So actually, I remember a lot of the details of the case. I just forgot the names involved.
Yeah.
You know.
And they think that he killed at least 28 people.
Yeah, and
it's probable that he killed more.
Yeah, and they found most of them underneath that shed.
They did, yeah. Well, they were like in 4 different locations.
Yeah.
But they think that he might have killed some like before the iconic, because like I said, he'd been doing this for a long time, and they wouldn't have caught him. Well, they didn't catch him, like I said, but they wouldn't have known about it unless one of his accomplices hadn't, like, fucking gunned him down.
He had photos of people, some of them never identified. He had a photo of a little kid chained to a board.
Yeah, he had
next to a toolbox.
He had a torture board, yeah.
Yeah, and they never did figure out who that kid was.
Yeah.
That's some spooky shit.
That's why they think that there's more victims that took place before his accomplices came on the scene.
That's some spooky shit. How do you abduct and torture and murder someone? These little boys, probably about 7 or 8, maybe less.
Yeah, most of his victims were in their teens.
Yeah, but this one's about 7 or 8.
But yeah, I think he might have gotten.
How could you do away with a kid like that and then not have anybody look for that kid or recognize that kid's photo?
The weird thing about this too is that this seems to be a case where, because almost all of his victims were from this one particular like area of Houston, Texas, and it was kind of a lower income, lower middle income sort of area.
It was white trash area. Go ahead and put it up there. Yeah.
No, yeah. So I'm saying that it seemed like all these boys were going missing, but like the cops were like, they just run away. You know how like those poor kids do or whatever. Yeah. So it's like they really didn't link all of them together.
Well, it actually was a time there was a lot of drugs and there was a lot of stuff going on, and kids were just vanishing. Never seen again.
Which true, but it's like
they didn't have the internet back then. And
you'd think at least one person would have said, "Hey, where are all these kids going?"
It was an area where, like, it was almost kind of like an Appalachia style area, from what I remember. Isn't that right?
No, it was it was part of Houston.
No,
Texas.
I meant an Appalachia style area. Like you said, it was a pretty low income area.
Yeah,
and I think even a lot of the parents were kind of derelict. You know what I mean? The parents.
I don't know about that. I mean, almost all the kids were reported missing, and like their parents were like looking for them and stuff.
It's been a long time since I remember.
It was mostly just the cops that were just like, they run away. How teenage boys do, always running away, and then subsequently getting raped and tortured and murdered and buried under a fucking boat shed.
Yeah, I kind of remember the basic story, and I remember what went down, and it makes a bad image for that it was outside Houston, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that happened there.
Although Dean Corll, he wasn't originally from Texas. He was actually from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Before we get into the main topic of the show, let's do a couple of little shout-outs. First of all, I want to say shout-out to Melanie, who gave us a very generous donation on PayPal. So thank you very much. She does that every now and again, and it's always very much appreciated.
Thanks, Melanie.
And we also have 2 new patrons, one of whom is named Dwayne, and one of whom is named Cody.
That's awesome.
So, hey, you guys, thank you very much. We couldn't do the show without all of you guys out there. So, what other things do we have to, mention about this? Oh, but the improved audio of my book, The Unseen Hand, is up now. So so if you purchase a audio copy of The Unseen Hand, should be the improved audio.
Yeah, it's a better reading too.
Yeah, like I said.
Some people kind of complained about the reading, that it was a little too wooden.
Yeah.
You did it kind of like you do the show, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm still reading, but I tried not to be so robotic. I don't think my old one was robotic, but, I have a reading voice and a talking voice, because when I'm reading on the page. It's like, when I'm talking, I'm just kind of like, la, 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 la. You know how I do. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much all the shout-outs we had. Okay. Maybe, I guess. Yeah, just the usual stuff, but I'll save that till the end. All right, so as I said, we're talking about Dean Arnold Corll. Every time I say that, I always want to say, like, fucking Rick on The Walking Dead. Corll! Yeah. But yeah, that's what it makes me think of. So, like I said, he was actually born in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Not a huge amount known about his childhood. He had one of those family dynamics where his father was, like, super, super strict, and his mom was, like, super protective. They divorced a couple times when he was growing up. They divorced and reconciled and then divorced again and blah, blah, blah. So, at some stage when Dean was younger, his mom had, like, moved out, like, and they lived in a trailer park and other kind of stuff. Now, interestingly, when Dean was a kid, I didn't really see anything that said that he did any kind of, like, serial killer shit, like, kill little animals or set fires or anything like that. By all accounts, I mean, he was very quiet, he was a loner, that type of thing, but he seemed to be, like, a real sensitive kid. Like, he was, seemed, like, really nice, really concerned for others, which is strange, considering how he ended up. But there was that kind of thing, too. Now, when he was 7 years, he was he was a little bit sickly as well. When he was 7, he got rheumatoid fever. And they told him not to do like PE and stuff like that because he was like too weak. So, like I said, his parents had remarried, and then they moved to Pasadena. Then they got divorced again. The mom kept the sons, but then she remarried. She remarried this traveling salesman named Jake West. Now, the two of them moved to this town called, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's Vidor or Vidor or something like that. It sounds like a fucking...
Vidor, maybe?
Tolkien villain. I don't know. It sounds like a spider's name. I don't know why that is. So they moved there.
It's something Latin, I think.
And they started a small candy company just out of their garage, and it kind of grew like into a thing, which is how Dean would end up later on being called the Candyman. So Corll starts working for the candy company like after school and like, you know, whatever, on weekends or whatever. Now when he gets into his teenage years, again, still very shy, very much a loner. He was in the band. He played trombone. He seemed to really like that, but that was kind of like, you know, all he was really into. He got good grades. Everyone said he was well behaved. Like I said, nothing unusual, really, other than being kind of quiet. So at this point, he graduates. His family moves to the Heights, this particular neighborhood of Houston. Like I said, kind of a lower middle class area. You know, I think like at the turn of the century, I was watching a documentary about Dean Corll, and they said that at the turn of the century, it was kind of like, you know, the fancy like upper class neighborhood, the Heights of Houston and stuff like that. But, you know, as the decades went on and economic depression and people moved elsewhere, so it, you know, it's kind of past its heyday, I guess you could say. So they moved to this particular neighborhood, and they opened the candy company like in its own separate building. It was called Pecan Prince. Which, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dean is working there, and he would give, like, free candy to the kids in the neighborhood, you know?
Yeah. You said Pecan Prince, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, man, I started thinking of those
pralines. I know.
Pralines, yeah.
Pralines.
Yeah, when outside of here, they call that pralines, but they're not pralines, they're pralines. With that damn, yeah, them things are good, man.
We should make some.
I gotta make some. It's just sugar and butter. Sugar and
that's
butter.
what makes everything
good. Fattening. Then you put some, pecans in them.
Again, that's why it's good.
Damn. Man, why do you do this to me?
You're the one that said it, not me. Yeah, I just said that was. I'm just telling you.
I haven't had them in a long time. Drop them down on the wax paper.
Yeah, I haven't had them either. Man. I know. God, that really does sound good,
doesn't it? They're all. You eat them and they're kind of soft, and then they break, and it's got that little bit of like sugary grit to them a little bit, you know. Only you could only come up with some shit like that in the South. Just let's make some candy out of butter and sugar. Put some pecans in it.
Pecans.
Put some pecans in it. Yeah.
Well, in the South, we also have chess pie, which is pretty much just sugar pie. Is pretty much what it is.
Yeah, this all comes from the same people that would put peanuts in their Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think my grandpa ever did that.
Oh man.
That sounds I'll put peanuts in pretty much anything, but
or they'd fry. They'd take they'd fry up a banana moon pie like that was something real exotic.
You know what? You can revoke my Southern card because I am Southern, you guys, but I really do not like moon pies, and I specifically do not like anything that is fake banana flavored.
Yeah, it's not
that
really
like
banana, it's nana.
Well,
nana
or nanner.
Nana moon pie.
Nana moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like anything. I don't really like marshmallow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for real, do not like any artificial banana flavor. I don't even really like real
all them
bananas.
Little Debbie snack cakes.
Yeah, we talked
Nutter
about
butter.
that. We talked about it.
Yeah, stop it. Stop it.
No, I looked at, the last time we did that, I don't remember what episode it was on.
Just talking about it.
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah.
But the last time, I don't remember what show it was on, but we were talking about Little Debbie's, and I got curious, and I was like, so I went to their website to see like what ones they still had. And it's like a lot of the ones I remembered growing up, they don't really have them anymore. Do you know that they have one now?
Because white people moved up in the world, so all the customers went away.
I guess not. You know what they have now? Because remember how I said I really like zebra cakes and also the Swiss cake rolls? Now they have one that's like a combo of both of those things. It's like a Swiss cake roll, but it's like a zebra cake on the outside. I
imagine
like, I want that.
Imagine people in England and Australia don't know what the fuck we're talking about. You just take a bunch of sugar and a bunch of corn. What's that stuff? Corn syrup. and cornstarch and make cakes out of them. They taste plasticky and really sweet.
But there's like certain.
But you microwave them or you deep fry them and they're good.
Well, like I said, you can deep fry pretty much anything, and it's good. It's just a lot of it's nostalgia, I think, because you know, when you're a kid and it's like, oh, it's a big treat when you get one and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, after that digression about pecan breads, I'm sorry I even brought pecans up.
I was just thinking about pecans. Okay.
See how you do? He just goes off on these fucking little mind tangents that he goes on.
Pralines and shit.
Pralines. Yeah. So at this candy store where Dean worked, they started, you know, there started going rumors around because they had like other employees and stuff like that, like other teenage boys that worked there. And, you know, there started to get around like that Dean was making like sexual advances towards some of these other, you know, employees. And he also like, you know, because he was a bit older than them at this stage. He had put like a pool table in the back of the candy store. Like I said, he would give kids free candy. So they would come over there and hang out with him and all this other kind of stuff. Mm. Now, in 19...
Was he going after boys or girls?
Boys.
Yeah.
He did date a girl, at least one girl, when he was in high school or when he was a little bit older. And it was supposedly pretty serious, but it seemed like most of his sexual interest was directed towards boys. Yeah. Even from, you know, from when he was a teenager, a little bit older.
Did they know? Did everybody know?
I don't really know. It just seems like most of the stuff that I read about him is just very matter of fact. It doesn't really say whether anyone said anything about it.
I think the way the dude turned out had a lot to do with the way people treated him for being gay. That's what I think.
That's kind of what I suspect about. Well, I suspect that about Dahmer and like other other killers, you know, that were gay and that were not accepted for being gay when they were younger.
These guys all came from usually come from some kind of lower middle class background, and they're kind of like giraffes in a sea of fucking buffalo. You know what I mean? They kind of stand out, and they're mistreated. So what they do is they have to hide it. So they're always closeted.
Yeah.
And I think that closeting action causes some kind of a internal struggle that kind of transmorphs into this feelings of, you know, kind of like hatred. So they become very sadistic. All these guys turn out to be sadistic. All these gay serial killers, very sadistic.
It does seem like that, too.
They only want to be Dahmer. Dahmer was actually not sadistic. He did all of that shit post-mortem.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are, you know, John Wayne Gacy was very sadistic.
Yeah.
You know, and so is this guy.
Like the family murders from Australia. Yeah, that similar kind of thing. Remember we did a show on that? They did some fucked up shit.
Right.
Yeah, because this guy, Dean Corll, he did some fucked up shit. He did some, like, really horrible, like, sexual torture and stuff like that to, like, teenage boys. And I do really think that there's something to do with that because, you know, when you spend your entire life, and I think it happens to some straight serial killers, too, and I'm not saying, you know, I've said before on the show, I think you have to have something kind of fucked up in your head to start with, like, genetically, that I think you're born with. You have a predisposition in that direction anyway. But then if you have some kind of upbringing where you are constantly being told that, you know, the way you are is not right, or there's something wrong with you, or something like that, where you can't just be the way you are, I think that fucks some kids up, you know, clearly.
Yeah, you know what, though, in the cases we're talking about, it always struck me as if these guys were telling themselves that they were fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It always seemed like self-guilt, you know? A lot of times it seemed like the parents or the environment that he came from, that they didn't know, or they didn't make a big deal about it. It was just, there's something about, like they were closeting themselves, and I think it caused some kind of weird.
Well, because maybe they were, even if their parents didn't know, maybe they were afraid.
They knew they would have been probably
right.
Yeah,
they knew that they would be rejected, and that was like fucking them up.
And maybe they thought the rejection would be even worse in their imagination as it would be in real life.
Right, yeah.
So they, you know, so the problem gets worse.
That's what I'm thinking.
Something like that.
But yeah, so in 1964, he gets drafted into the Army. This was for the Vietnam War, obviously. He first goes to Fort Polk, Louisiana for basic training. Then he went to Fort Benning. And then he was sent to where he was supposed to go for his permanent assignment, which was Fort Hood in Texas. He was going to be a radio repairman. However, he supposedly really, really, really did not like military service. And I didn't realize you could even do this for this reason, but he went to them and claimed a hardship because he said that my family needs me at the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think at this point, his stepfather had taken off, like his mom had gotten divorced again, and she had made Dean the vice president of the candy company. So he made the argument, well, she needs me to help run the business, and the Army said okay. So he only served for 10 months, and then he was discharged.
This was 64?
1964.
Yeah, well, he wasn't really like a high priority. He was just radio repair. It's not like
like he was. Yeah.
He wasn't trying to dodge out of combat or anything. And he'd already been there for 10 months. I think most guys only did a year.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
In the conscripted army. So, yeah, they probably just let him go.
Yeah.
And another thing is if they didn't really like him, they would have let him go.
True.
Yeah, if there wasn't really much to him.
Yeah. And if he wasn't, like, they thought he wasn't going to be a team player, I
guess.
Right. But yeah.
Or if he just, he wasn't contributing much,
Yeah.
and people just didn't like having him around. That'd be an easy way to get rid of him.
I should say, too, that even before he went into the Army, like I said, he was making, like, sexual advances towards other kids that worked at the candy store. Now, one kid actually, like, complained about it, but Dean's mom just fired the kid.
Yeah.
So she was, like, always kind of having his back.
Well, she probably didn't believe it.
Yeah, she might not have. She might have just thought he was being a maniac and he was, like, making it up or whatever.
Trying to get money or something.
So, so Dean gets out of the Army. He comes back and he's working in the candy business. Now, at this stage, he meets David Brooks, who would become one of his accomplices later on. But at this stage, he was only 12 years old. He was in 6th grade. Now, like I said, Dean Corll is an adult at this point. And he is like, let's see, he was 1964. He was born in 1939. So, yeah, he's like in his 20s. And he's hanging out with like 12, 13, 14-year-old boys, like I said.
He had that Michael Jackson syndrome.
I guess so. Yeah. So he's like luring all these boys into the thing, hey, come play pool, and we have free candy and all this other kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Come to Neverland.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm busting Michael Jackson's chops, though. Some people say he didn't do that, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was awful suspicious.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to take a stand one way or the other.
If you're a grown man, you have some Ferris wheels and shit in your fucking house. And
that is pretty weird.
Statues of Peter Pan everywhere. It's very suspicious. He's talking about how much he likes children. All these photographs of Michael Jackson with all these children. If he likes children so much, where the fuck are the girls? There's just boys in those photographs.
I know.
It's weird. Yeah.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's a very slim possibility that it all could have been completely innocent, but it's a very, very slim possibility. Yeah. It's just like every other situation like that is sketchy as fuck.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Man, it's fucking hilarious, man. That a dude could be that rich and then have problems like that. You would think, he was in his 20s and he had that big old fucking palace with a train and all. But he might have been in his 30s, actually.
Yeah, I don't really know. And
you think that, if you had a big old spread like that and you were a rock star, you're going to have that thing just jam-packed full of women all the time.
Yeah.
No, he's got little boys there.
Yeah,
you know some shit's wrong.
Yeah, because, like, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you're some big rich rock star. It's like you either have a bunch of naked women or a bunch of naked men. Or both, depending on what your predilection is.
Got these little boys there.
But filling up with kids.
Yeah, because he cares about the children. Well, where are the girls? It's just these. Well, that'd be improper. Okay. That's some weird shit, man.
Yeah, I know.
Just gotta say. If I was him in his position, and that age and everything, Neverland Ranch would look. It would look like a cross between a circus and a strip club. That's what it would look like, and a racetrack.
Circus and a strip club.
Yeah, and a racetrack. Something like that. Back when I was his age, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been lots of fun.
Yeah.
All right. So, as I said, Dean Corll is doing the same kind of thing, hanging out with a bunch of teenagers, even though he's in his 20s. Giving them candy, giving them marijuana. They go and hang out at the beach together, all this other kind of stuff. Now, 3 years later, when David Brooks, his little 12-year-old friend, is 15 years old, David Brooks drops out of school And he comes over and like starts hanging out with Dean Corll all the time.
That's because he had ripened.
Yeah, and so allegedly, because Dean was like, "Hey, you can stay at my place," because at this point he had moved into an apartment like over the candy store, and he lived up there by himself. So he's like, "Well, you can stay here whenever you want to." So allegedly a sexual relationship developed between the 20-whatever-year-old Dean Corll and the 15-year-old
What year was this again, more or less? What are we talking about here?
Mid-60s.
And I guess people just didn't really keep an eye out for that kind of stuff back then. Nowadays,
it was an innocent time.
Nowadays, they had to call the law.
That's what I mean. Yeah. If you tried to pull this crap nowadays, like every single neighbor would be calling the cops. Yeah,
lights and shit.
You would be on every like fucking sexual predator list on the internet. Yeah, your face would be all over the fucking place.
Yeah, it was another time.
I know. That's what I mean.
It was the good old days.
When all this horrible shit went on, but nobody knew about it. Like, that was so much better. They acted like it didn't happen, but I'm like, because, I know about this shit. Horrible shit happens. Sometimes even worse shit than happens nowadays. It's just that nobody knew about it, or they didn't want to think about it. I don't know what the problem is.
It was considered an anomaly. Most people behaved themselves. It was a freer time when you think about it. Most people behaved themselves.
Did they?
But some people just, abused it.
Yeah, no shit they did. That's what I mean. It's like fucking, it's fucked up.
It's kind of an innocent time.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, and the fucked up thing too is that, again, allegedly, David Brooks said that Dean Corll would give him money to let him suck him off.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was his thing. Like, he would pay them because later on, when he had the accomplices, he would pay them to like bring him.
You to blow you.
Yeah.
That's some weird shit.
Which I always thought was real. Like, I always thought that was really weird. I'm like, if I was a dude, I'd be like, well, I want to pay somebody to blow me. I don't want to pay to blow someone else. That's not fun. I don't get it.
I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there.
I was, whatever floats your boat. I'm just saying. Well, not this guy, but
I'm not gonna attempt to see it from that way. I'm just.
You're not gonna attempt.
I'm not gonna attempt to see it that way. No, I'm just gonna let it be. Some of these dudes are gonna freak, and that's what they're gonna do.
It just seems like the wrong person is getting paid in that transaction. That's all I'm saying.
Paying for his silence.
I guess. I don't know. Whatever. So, so this kid is like hanging out and they're kind of doing that. Whatever. So, at this point, Dean's mom, the candy company, I guess, failed or they closed it or whatever. So, Dean's mom and his half-sister, they moved away. They moved to Colorado. Now, I think his mom, still kept in contact with him and stuff, but they didn't ever see each other again after that time. So, after the candy store closed and, the free candy train had, left the station, there's no more free candy or anything like that. So, Dean gets another job as an electrician at the Houston Lighting and Power Company.
I wonder what kind of candy they made.
You know what? I don't know.
I bet you they made some saltwater taffy. I haven't had saltwater taffy in ever.
He always... The last time you had saltwater taffy was the time that I ordered you a 5-pound bag for Christmas, and you ate the whole thing in 2 days.
I know. If y'all want to get me fat, send me some saltwater taffy. I can't
Maybe
find
it was 3 days, but it was a 5-pound bag or a 10-pound bag?
I love saltwater taffy.
He was always complaining because he couldn't find any, and finally I went on one of them old-timey candy stores on Amazon, and I ordered this big, huge bag one year, so I'm like, here, now be quiet. But then he ate it after...
Yeah, even the black licorice stuff.
A few days later, he had eaten every single fucking piece of it.
Peanut butter and black licorice and cherry and strawberry and
it was actually pretty good.
Green apple.
I'm not a big taffy fan, but I thought it was pretty damn good. I had
when I was a kid, we had these bars called Laffy Taffy. It's
they still make those, don't they?
It's about 1.5 feet long and about 1/4 inch thick.
I don't know. I'm not a candy connoisseur.
But it would stretch out to about 5 or 6 feet before it break.
He's all about the fruity candy, and I'm all about the chocolate and nutty candy.
Pretty much.
It's funny because it's the same thing about ice cream flavors.
Yeah, I like.
He likes fruity sherbet and stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas I'm all about chocolate, nut, coffee, stuff like that. I like crunchy ice cream. It's got to have mint cookies or shit like that in it.
You can tell we're fat people. Let's get to this again.
All right. So. That's kind of a little bit of background on the guy. Now, they think, at least what they know about, They think that he killed, like I said, at least 28 people between the years of 1970 and 1973. All of the victims were boys between the ages of 13 and 20 years old. Again, almost all of the victims were abducted or lured from the same neighborhood, which I'm not entirely sure how big the neighborhood of Houston Heights is, but you'd think that some red flags would have gone up somewhere. Like, why are all these kids disappearing? Because that's a lot of kids. I'm just saying. So they think, I mean, he might have done some on his own. The ones that they know about are because his accomplices were involved and they were there when it happened. They either procured the kid or they were there when it happened, or he had told them about it. So because that's the only reason they know about it, because like I said, they wouldn't have known about it if one of his accomplices hadn't killed him.
It was some weird shit.
And then confessed later on.
He was paying one of them to go out there and meet guys.
Both of them. He paid both of them.
Paid both of them?
Yeah.
And told them to bring these guys here and he'd pay them.
Yeah, $200 each.
Yeah. And what he would do...
That's a lot of money back then.
What he would do is he would, like, take a guy and handcuff him, put a handcuff on one side and pull that handcuff through a hole in a board.
Yeah.
The board was about 2 feet wide and probably about 5 feet tall.
It was 3 feet by 7 feet.
3 feet by 7?
I have a picture of it.
Yeah, and he'd pull the other end of that handcuff through there and handcuff it to another guy, so you'd have two of them handcuffed together with a board in between them. And then do bad shit to them.
Yeah.
And some of the shit was just horrible. One of them, he had two brothers in that position, and he told me that after he tortured them, he told them that he'd let one of them go if one would kill the other. And they sat there beating each other, trying to kill each other. I don't remember exactly what happened.
He did, you know what's creepy is he actually did two sets of brothers. He did one set of brothers at the same time.
Yeah.
And then one, he kidnapped one brother and killed him, and then a year later he kidnapped the other brother. And
yeah. What he would do is why he'd have these guys chained up to this board. He had a bunch of these glass rods.
Yeah.
They were used for something with beakers or something.
Yeah.
He'd slip that down these kids' urethra.
Urethra, yeah.
And then take a pair of pliers and break
them.
Yeah, well, I was inside there.
Yep.
Man.
How would that even occur to you?
Nasty.
He also castrated some of the victims.
I didn't know about that one.
He would cut off their testicles, or he would chew them off.
Oh.
He did that a couple times too. Because when they found some of the bodies, sometimes their genitals were separate in a separate little baggie. Isn't that fucking charming?
Mm.
I know, it's some nasty ass shit.
Damn.
I'm sorry, you guys. We always talk about such cheerful fucking topics on this show. It's bumming me out, kind of.
I'm trying to think of what I would do to that dude if I had him.
Well, you can't do anything to him now because he died a long time ago.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to imagine, man. I'm trying to say, how do you get even with somebody like that?
That's what I mean.
Well,
and the fucked up thing is, like, even if you did, like, the most horrible shit you can imagine,
still not quite even with him.
And he'd probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
I kind of have the feeling he'd probably enjoy it. You know? He seems like that type of guy. I don't know.
Probably maybe, like, put him in what they call a Mongolian death coffin. You can't really lay down in it. You can't stand up in it. You got a hole in there that maybe you can put a hand through. And
I know.
And it's in the middle of them.
Yeah.
And they used to do that in Mongolia, and leave you in there. And they only take you out, I think, once a week, and you're in there crapping in that box. And you can't really look out the hole too well because it's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so like, we'll put a hole in it, but we're gonna put it in this most awkward place.
Well, it was directly in the center.
Yeah.
So you'd have to like lean forward to look out through the hole, and you couldn't get your head out of it.
You know what? This gives me like an existential type of sadness because it seems like, look at the waste of imagination that somebody wasted all their brain power thinking of the worst fucking shit they could do to other people instead of doing something productive and useful. That bums
Well, what are you talking about? Talking about the death coffin? Or are you talking about
or just in general, torture things.
I think they put people in Mongolian death coffins because, you know, during that period there was no such thing as a penitentiary or a prison. It was they were kind of a nomadic tribe, you know, the Mongolians, you know, because they'd had this shit for like 1,000 years. So the first thing that came to their mind was, you'll just put the dude in a box and then put the box in basically like a little courtyard with a wall around it and have guys guard it.
Yeah.
And that would be like probably about the most effective incarceration you could do under primitive conditions. You know what I mean? Because building a real penitentiary or a prison is quite an undertaking.
Yeah.
You need an industrial society for that. But, you know, these are just wooden boxes. You couldn't break out of them. They were thick. You know, because you can't get a leverage on it.
You'd think that if they were going to go to all that trouble, I know this is a horrible thing to say, but if they're going to go to all that trouble, why didn't they just take the person, just bonk him on the head and kill him?
Well, some of them had certain sentences. You know, they weren't going to be in there all that long. Some of them had life, though, but the idea was to kill them.
Yeah.
And they would die, in horrible means. Now, when I say they were made out of wood, it was more like they were made out of almost... We're talking about wood that was kind of like railroad ties. You know? There's no way you could break them. They were thick. I've seen them. Seen photographs of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that whole conversation just reminded me of, like, this fucking exchange that was on Mystery Science Theater. It was this fucking sci-fi movie, and the villain has this really convoluted plan. He's like, I'm going to take each of the people that I want to kill, and I'm going to put them each in a space capsule, and I'm going to fire it into the sun, and blah, blah, blah. And then Crow is like, wouldn't it be cheaper and quicker to just bludgeon them right here? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. I don't know why they didn't do that, but that made me think of. So, yeah, let's see. So, many of the victims were actually friends or acquaintances of his two accomplices, because his other accomplice was named Elmer Wayne Henley, who came along a little bit later. A couple of them had worked at the Coral Candy Company before it closed. So, his kind of MO... What he would do, like I said, either he would do it or he would have one of his accomplices do it. Like I said, he paid $200 per head to his accomplices to bring him people. So they would go out in his fucking van. Like I said, I don't know if this is where this meme came from, like the fucking white van with the blacked out. Because it had like the blue curtains in the back windows and like all of that shit. So he's going in his white Econoline van, and he's luring boys into the van by either giving them candy or saying, oh, I'm having a party, I got pot, I got alcohol, blah, blah, blah. Or I'll give them a ride. Sometimes he would just like strong arm them off their bike if they were just riding a bike down the street or something like that.
Word to the wise, you men out there. If another man ever comes up to you anywhere at any time and asks if you want to go to a party, you say no.
Well, not just man, anybody.
Yeah.
If somebody you don't know says, have you guys seen the trailer for that movie Ma? Like that kindly old chubby African American woman that's like, buy us some beer, and she buys the beer. She's like, hey, want to come to a party at my house? Yeah, sure, why not? She just looks like a harmless old lady. Yeah, that's not how that's going to turn out. Right. It's a horror movie. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? If anybody you don't know asks you, even if people you do kind of know ask you to go to a party, just say no.
Yeah. I mean, if some dude comes up to you, hey, you want to go to a party? Who's going to be there? Just me and you. I had one dude say that to me. Well, it's out of Boston.
You're so sexy that he couldn't resist it.
Yeah, I just laughed.
He just saw you like sashaying down the street, and he was.
I wasn't going down the street.
I'm gonna get a piece of that.
I was at a bar called the Rathskeller.
Oh, you're right.
It's kind of like a punk rock bar.
Oh, okay.
This dude came in and goes, "Hey man, you want to go to a party?" And I was kind of drinking, and I was like, "Who's going? Who's going?" He's going. He was just me and you. And I just went, get out of here, man! Get out of here, man! He was serious though.
What kind of party is that?
Yeah, just me and you. Oh shit! Nah,
it's a murder party.
I'm good, bro.
That is.
I'm good.
It's a rape and murder party.
Yeah, he was old leather daddy. Yeah, they are.
Well,
I thought I took it well. I just laughed.
Points for trying.
I just laughed. Nah.
I'm flattered, but
Nah.
Yeah.
Just me and you. Oh shit.
Just me and you. Yeah. Okay. So. Like I said, he would either lure them into the van or he would just like grab them off a bike or something like that, take them back to the house. He would usually then drug them or get them really drunk. While they were asleep, he would put handcuffs on them, or he would trick them into putting on handcuffs. One of his accomplices would do that sometimes. He'd be like, hey, look at this like magic trick that I can do. And he would put the handcuffs on and then go, look, I can get out. Now you try. And then, then the other kid would put the handcuffs on and he'd be like, psych. Yeah, so then they would strip all their clothes off. They would tie them to this board or to Dean's bed, and then they would sexually assault, torture them, and usually kill them by strangling them, or they would shoot them with a .22 caliber pistol. Almost all of the victims were killed with the same gun. So then they would take their bodies, they would tie them in, they would put them in all these plastic sheets. And then he had like 4 different dump sites. Now this guy like moved around a lot, which again should have been like another red flag. He would move around to like different apartments and different houses, like in the same area.
Well, a lot of people do that.
I know, but I mean, I'm talking like he moved somewhere and then like 2 or 3 weeks later he moved somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It was a little weird.
What about his deposits? I guess he was...
that's what I'm like, where's he getting all this fucking money?
Yeah.
$200 per victim?
Yeah.
He has all this money to like move. Like you said, what about fucking rental deposit? I mean, I know it was the 70s, but fuck. He was just an electrician.
Well, they can make good money.
Right,
but you have to get the jobs.
Right.
I don't know, Well,
$200 per victim, that's a lot of money in
especially
1971.
Yeah, that would have probably been close to like $500-600.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a job too, but I can't afford to fucking drop that and say, hey, I'll pay you $200 to bring me somebody to kill. What the fuck? Mm-hmm. I can't afford that shit.
What about the balls it takes?
Even if I wanted to.
The balls it takes to talk a 15-year-old guy to go out there and go bring you somebody to kill, and then you tell him that you did it.
Well, and they were there for the later ones.
Yeah, and how the hell are they going to,
and it was friends of theirs.
Yeah,
they knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. They must have been
there was 2 of them. He got 2 of them.
And he also knew what he was doing to them. Some of this stuff was just like really gruesome. And they must have either just been totally like cowed into submission and terrified or something. There was more to it than that. He somehow held power over them mentally.
Well, Brooks for sure, because I think that he started, as they would say now, grooming. I think he started doing that. I mean, because Brooks was only 12. Yeah. David Brooks was only 12 when he met him. And 12-year-old boys...
with him somehow.
Yeah, 12-year-old boys are stupid. I'm sorry. Well, 12-year-old kids in general are stupid. But... So some older guy is like hanging out with you and you like feel super cool because you're like hanging out with this cool older guy that was in the army.
But then you see this dude rape these guys and then torture them to death and kill them.
Maybe he thought that was cool.
I don't think he did.
I don't know.
Because I saw some interviews with him and I don't want to get ahead of the story because
no, it's all right. Just
I saw some interviews with the guy. What was his name again? The kid who shoots Corll.
Well, one of them was David Brooks, and one of them was Henley. Elmer Wayne Henley.
I think Henley was one that shot him.
Henley was the guy that shot him. Yeah.
Saw the one with Henley.
He was a bit older, I think.
Yeah, and he kind of had excuses for the whole thing based on what I remember. Said that the guy had kind of had like power over his mind, had kind of brainwashed him into it. And on that one particular murder, there was a girl involved, and he told he was
that was the last one. Yeah,
he was going to torture that girl, and he said he couldn't stand it anymore, so he picked up the pistol.
Yeah,
they struggled over it for a second. He shot him in the head, and he let them all go.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but that's how it ended up, and that's how he ended up getting caught.
But I just thought it's weird. Yeah, and Henley's doing life. He's doing life in prison.
Are.
They're doing life in prison.
Which I'm not sure that would have happened had Corll still been alive.
And here's the thing. I remember thinking after the whole case that was kind of unjust because those guys were pretty young when all that was going on.
They were just teenagers.
And they were kind of victims of it too. And they kind of had. I think this guy had pretty firm grip on them mentally.
Yeah. They
were scared of him. Well,
a lot of times when you're a
little kid, you don't really know the full extent of an adult's power. You know what I mean? Because I think they were afraid that if they had gone to the police that, he could have killed them somehow.
Yeah.
He probably lied, Probably lied to him.
Well, honestly, I think that if I'm remembering correctly, Elmer Wayne Henley, who was the guy that ended up shooting him, now, I think that when he first came to Dean Corll's house, he came there like as a victim. Okay. Like he was a potential victim.
Right.
But Corll ended up liking him enough and saying, hey, I'm going to recruit you into, procuring other kids for me. So
and then
he saw something in him.
Yeah, and there was something about how he used his guilt against him to control him. He felt guilty about doing it once, so then he just made him do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah,
was all
that's
kinds
a good
of stuff.
point.
Right.
Because, like I said, you have to.
He got him into it deep.
Yeah, these were teenage kids.
Right.
I
don't think I'd have given him life.
And he was much older.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have given him life.
Yeah, well, like I said, they both got that. But I'm saying that had Dean Corll not been killed, like I'm not saying that I'm not happy that he's fucking dead, because good for Henley for fucking shooting him finally. Yeah. But, had he still been alive to answer for his crimes, I feel like the accomplices would have got a lesser sentence because I feel like they punished them so harshly because Dean Corll wasn't around to punish.
There's nowhere to punish.
So I kind of feel like they were like, well, we have to have justice served somewhere. So these two accomplices are still here. They've confessed to knowing about this stuff and helping him to procure victims. So we're just going to give them the maximum sentence because Dean is not here.
Right.
To give it to.
I didn't really agree with that verdict.
I kind of don't either. It's like I'm not exonerating them because, you know, they did it for a while, but they were
too young.
Yeah, they were just kids.
I don't think they really understood the full magnitude of what was happening.
Yeah,
and they were scared. They're easy to manipulate kids that age.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And, you know what I mean?
I do think they needed to be punished, but I think
they should have been incarcerated until they were about 18 or 19 and then sent somewhere and given therapy and shit.
Yeah. They might have turned out all right, you know, you never know. But yeah, so like I said, so the bodies of almost all the victims, like I said, the ones that they know about have all been found. I think there's one or two that haven't actually been identified. But he had 4 dumping grounds. He had a boat shed that he rented. He had a beach, like a place on the beach of the Boulevard Peninsula where he would bury stuff. There was there was a lakeside. There was a log cabin on Lake Sam Rayburn, which his parents owned, and he buried some bodies on that property as well. And then there was another beach in Jefferson County where he buried some other ones. So, you know, like I said, they didn't know about any of this until later on, you know, when Henley came forward and told them he knew where all the bodies were. So, yeah. Now, another fucked up thing, too, is that Dean would sometimes, aside from all the horrible shit, like I said, all the genital mutilation and the rape and torture and all the other stuff, he would sometimes make his victims write letters or call their parents to tell them that they were all right, that they were runaways and you know, they were fine and stuff like that. So he would do that. He also tended to keep keepsakes from his victims, usually keys for whatever reason. He was kind of into that. Like I said, he kind of moved around a lot too, which didn't, you know, it didn't strike anybody as weird at the time, I guess, because no one was really thinking about it, but thinking about it now, it seems kind of weird. But I kind of wanted to get into a little bit of like some of the individual cases, like, you know, the individual murders and stuff like that, but I think we're going to take a break first just before it gets too late so we can, you know, refill it, because you look like you probably need to refill soon in a minute. I don't.
All right.
But yeah, so when we come back, we will talk some more about the victims of Dean Corll, the Candyman, the horrible, horrible serial killer who happily is dead. But we will be back in just a few minutes. The Faceless Villain, a collection of the eeriest unsolved murders of the 20th century, Volume 2, includes cases spanning the years from 1960 through 1979, featuring such infamous crimes as the triple homicide at Lake Bodom, the family massacre known as the Good Heart Murders, the serial killings of the Zodiac, Bible John, Jack the Stripper, and the Freeway Phantom,
the slaughter of dozens of women and girls along the Highway of Tears and the Texas killing fields, and the mysterious death of suspected spy, the Isdal woman, along with dozens of other fascinating and horrifying accounts. Buy it now from Amazon in print, Kindle, or audiobook format.
All right, we're back from the break.
Yeah, we're going to do like individual cases on this, right?
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through some of the individual
You got any nasty
cases.
Details of what he did to these boys during this torture?
Well, we talked about some of it already.
Chewing dudes' nuts off and cutting people's off. And putting glass rods up inside people and crushing them with pliers. And, man, it was nasty.
Yeah, like I said.
Making one kid beat another kid to death.
How would you even think of that? Like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, he said one of the brothers says if you guys start fighting, whoever kills the other, I'll let you go.
That's like some Saw shit.
And I don't think they could. I don't think they ever. I don't really remember the details. I don't think they were ever able to kill one another though. Their board was in between them.
Well, I don't know. I didn't read.
I think he ended up killing both of them, but
well, he did. Yeah.
I don't think he ever let one of them.
Like I
go.
said, that was the only. That wasn't the only set of brothers he did that to either. He just did one at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So his first known victim was an 18-year-old named Geoffrey Conan, and he was a college freshman at the University of Texas. September of 1970, he was apparently hitchhiking back to see his parents in Houston. They're presuming that Dean picked him up while hitchhiking and then took him back to the house. And when they found his body later on, it was actually David Brooks, in 1973, who actually led them to where the body was. It was at High Island Beach. He had been strangled. He was gagged. He was found naked and wrapped in plastic. He had been raped. All that kind of stuff. He had his hands and feet bound also. Now, around the time that this happened, like I said, now this is his first known murder. He might have done some by himself before this. I'll talk about that at the end, but this is the first one that they know about because Brooks knew about it. So what happened at this point was that David Brooks comes to Dean Corll's house, and reportedly he interrupts Dean Corll in the middle of, he had two teenage boys in there strapped to the plywood torture board. So he comes in and he's like, hey, what's going on or whatever. And Dean says, hey, if you don't tell anybody about this, I'll give you a car.
Damn.
So David says, okay, he's 15, 16 years old, whatever. Mm-hmm. So Dean buys him a green Corvette.
Damn. He was good to his word.
Yeah, he did. He actually bought him a car. Now, apparently, David Brooks did not see Dean Corll killing these two, but he said that Dean told him later that he had killed him. And this was he had killed him, and he said this is the point where he said, hey, if you bring me boys, I'll give you $200 per head. At which point David's like, okay, sounds like a plan, I guess. So he starts bringing his friends and stuff like that. So the next ones that they know about happened in December of 1970. Now, these were two 14-year-olds, James Glass and Danny Yates. They were at a religious rally near the Houston Heights neighborhood. They got lured to his apartment. I think this is actually the second time they'd been there because I think Brooks had said, hey, come hang out with my friend Dean. He's really cool or whatever. So they just said, oh, we're having a party there or whatever. So they, brought him back. They both got raped, strangled, and buried in the boat shed. 6 weeks later, there was another one, January 30th, 1971. These are the two teenage brothers, Donald and Jerry Waldrop. Now, they were walking to a bowling alley. They were then enticed into Dean's van and then driven to his other apartment because he had moved subsequently since the last murder. I don't know if he moves after every murder because it definitely seems like
he might have been nervous at that stage.
That's what I mean. He would only do 2 or 3 at one place and then he would move to another apartment and then do a couple more and then move to another apartment. It seemed like he was moving every 6 weeks or so.
Might have been kind of paranoid.
That's what I was thinking. And that might have helped him not get caught maybe because like I said, he didn't get caught.
Right.
When you think about it. He did it for 3 years that they know of.
He's probably imagining that the cops are back there putting 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
And that there may have been...
If they were good cops, they would have, but nobody did.
Well, maybe he thought there were witnesses out there that knew that those kids were in his company somehow.
Yeah. Like I said, it seems like so many people dropped the ball in this situation.
That may not be the situation at all. It may have been that he didn't really like the location of where he was, and, and he had money, and he was just able to move around, and, just looking for a good place. That might have been what he was doing.
Yeah. I don't know. Fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these two brothers were also raped, strangled, and buried in the under the boat shed. Now, between the months of March and May of 1971, they think that he killed 3 more. These were all from Houston Heights. David Hillegeist, Mally Winkle. Those 2 were kidnapped together in May of 1971 and were killed. Now, interestingly, it was around this time, because remember how I said Elmer Wayne Henley was the second accomplice. But around this time, this is when he was brought to the apartment as a potential victim, right? But for whatever reason, Dean Corll was like, hey, I think you should be my second accomplice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, he was originally intending to kill him, but he saw something in him, I guess, that he thought would make a better accomplice. So he gave him the same deal that he gave to Brooks, and Henley accepted it. Yeah, so that's how that whole thing went down. Now, in August of 1971... Dean and David Brooks are walking around, and they see the 17-year-old kid that David sort of knows. His name is Reuben Watson. He was walking home from the movies. So Brooks says, hey, why don't you come to Dean's house for a party? We're having a big party later on. So the kid said, fine. And he also ended up strapped to the board, tortured, and strangled, also buried in the boat shed. Now, there's some uncertainty, too, because Dean said that he was a participant in a sexual slavery ring. So he said that he knew other dudes in Dallas that were into the same kind of shit. And it's weird because after he died and they like searched through his stuff and everything, they found like photographs, like you said, and some of the people in the photographs, like some of the people in the photographs were people that they had found their bodies and they identified them, they knew who they were. But some of the people, they didn't know who they were, so they don't know if these were other victims that were dead somewhere or victims that he tortured and let go or, you know, whatever. But they said the presence of these photographs kind of maybe bolsters the theory a little bit that he kind of knew other dudes in Dallas maybe that were into this kind of thing. But they're not really sure because neither of his accomplices, you know, David Brooks or Elmer Henley, knew. They said, well, we never met anyone else.
Yeah,
like,
I'm gonna call bullshit
to do with anything or a slavery ring or anything like that.
I'm gonna call bullshit on it.
Yeah,
you know,
so I don't know how true that is.
There's been several of these serial killers tell victims that they were involved, and they remember like that they put that girl in a box. Mm-hmm. And they told her that they were, you know, that he had connections in this big slavery. It's a fantasy that they come up with. I think it's a story that they come up with to kind of like. It was a way of making his two little go-getters. What did he call them? His accomplices to make them think that they were that he had like a higher purpose behind him and that there was an entire organization.
Yeah.
That way he could say, well, the people from this organization will come and get you. That kind of shit.
That might have been, that might have been something that
important and part of some big mafia.
Yeah, that he was like telling them.
Yeah, and then that's kind of, you could kind of say, well, what we're doing is a little more normal than you think it is. This is happening everywhere.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Like, you know, like telling people, oh, there's other people that do this too, so it's not as weird as it seems.
Yeah, you just don't know. There's thousands of it. That's what he's making. I do. Everybody likes it when I do voices. That's my serial killer voice. You don't know that, you know. You just don't know. There's thousands of us. You gotta have that look on your face. Thousands of us.
There probably are, but that doesn't make anybody feel shit. Better. Yeah.
It's full of shit.
Are you going to talk about like how you're very upset and you have sexual problems?
Yeah, well, yeah. I have sexual problems.
Somebody said that you should do that on every show.
Well, they got very upset. Of course, they were very upset, you know.
Of course.
But I told them that, you know, I had sexual problems and we were going to work it out. We're going to work it out.
Jesus fucking
When I got done, I told them that, you know, I'd have to strangle them. And, of course, they were very upset. It's okay, though.
That's probably exactly what he was thinking.
That's what it sounded like to me.
This guy also has sexual problems.
Yeah.
Also.
This dude here, man, he was fucking a lot more cruel than Raider, though.
True.
Yeah, Raider didn't go take it this far.
Yeah, this is some fucked up shit. Like I said, this is somebody sitting around imagining. It's like, hey, what if I took a little bitty glass rod and stuck it up somebody's urethra and then broke it with pliers?
Well, I think he also did it over a longer period of time too. I mean, I think he kept several of these kids alive for I think a couple of days in some cases, wasn't it?
In some cases, yeah. Usually he would just bring them back and rape or torture them for like an hour or like a day or something and then kill them. But maybe a couple of them he kept a couple of days.
But now I'm kind of thinking he kept some of them was like a couple of days.
It might have been, yeah. Okay, so the next one they think was somewhere around February or March of 1972. They're not entirely sure which one this one is. This one was another one where they lured him to the house. They said, hey, we've got pot, we're having a party or whatever. So the kid comes there. They think this might have been a kid called Willard Branch. He was 17 years old. He was a friend of both the accomplices. So some friends those fucking dudes were.
Yeah, really.
Hey, we know all these kids. Hey, come over to this house and get fucking murdered. What the fuck?
Not only murdered, but tortured and raped.
Right, before they get murdered. Jesus Christ. So yeah, but Willard Branch, they did find that guy's body, and that seemed like about the time when he had disappeared, so they think that that's who they were talking about. The next one happened in March of 1972. This was an 18-year-old named Frank Aguirre. He was walking home from work. He worked at a restaurant. And they call him over to the van and they say, hey, we got pot and beer and, come and hang out with us and stuff. And like he said yes, which you should never do. But he kind of knew them. So it's not like they were complete strangers. That's the scary bit, though. Yeah. So yeah, he gets over there and then Brooks, I think, talked him into, like, he did the trick where, hey, look at the magic handcuffs or whatever, and I can get out of them, and now you try. And then he put the handcuffs on, and he's like, meh.
Yeah, switch the handcuffs.
Yeah, so basically, and then they fucking raped and killed him also. Yeah, so I think this is the point here where this was the first time actually Henley saw him doing it. This Elmer Wayne Henley. Like, David Brooks had seen it before, but was keeping it to himself. I think Henley knew that it was happening, but I think this was like kind of around the time that he first witnessed it. But he still stayed on board. Like I said, it might have been because he was scared of the guy. It might have been for whatever other reasons he had.
I think they thought that this guy was in this big sex mafia of these powerful dudes from Houston, and maybe they better listen to him or they'd get killed and end up on the other end of that damn board. That's what I thought was going on. That's what I think's going on.
Because like I said, I mean, Henley was actually first intended as a victim. Yeah. That's why he was brought there. They were going to rape and kill him just like the others.
He had talked himself up to the point where them kids were scared of him and just obeyed him. Yeah. I think.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. Yeah, so then there was another one in April 1972, because these are happening like pretty close together. It's only like a month or 6 weeks like in between. It wasn't a case, like I said, like BTK, where, he would go years and years without killing one. This was like pretty common, because all of these happened. He killed at least 28 people within like a 3-year span, and he might have killed some people before that too.
It was a project.
Yeah.
Doing my projects,
I guess so. This was this guy's project.
Yeah, little projects.
Oh my god. Fucking get a different
His weren't as well planned out as mine, though. I was careful.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
Dennis
input.
showing up to go to you.
Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next one...
The strange thing about this case is that these were boys. You're not supposed to do that. That's gay.
Oh, man. You know what? Well, you know what I think the funniest / saddest thing is about the impression that you do of Dennis is that even if he doesn't say that stuff out loud, that's what he's thinking.
Fuck yeah.
That's what he's thinking.
He's like, that guy's a pervert.
Yeah. Not like fine, upstanding Dennis Rader.
No, I'm straight.
That makes it all right. I'm straight and
I'm a real man,
And those bitches have to deal with my sexual problems.
I'm a real man, I measure some grass and collect some dogs, go back to the church, take some pictures, maybe dig a grave, get down in it,
put on a dress,
put some stockings on.
Yeah.
It's kinky, you know. It's kinky.
Oh, man.
But it's not gay.
In a way that I haven't quite figured out yet. Yeah. So the next one happened in April 1972. This was a 17-year-old named Mark Scott, also a friend of the two accomplices. He was actually taken by force. He was not lured. And he, like, fought like hell. He even, like, tried to stab them and shit like that. But at this stage, so he's struggling and trying to stab them and stuff. Now, Henley points a gun at him, like, to get him to stop struggling. At which point, Mark's just like, fuck it, do whatever you want to do. So instead of shooting me. So he ended up raped, tortured, killed, just like the other
Better
ones.
to make them fucking kill you.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like, you know what I mean? I would rather just get shot in the face. And
Maybe he didn't know
what was going to happen.
What was going to happen.
Well,
right.
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't...
I guess you wouldn't know how far it would go.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say, because I've never been in that situation, but...
Tell you, if you ever try to abduct me and take me somewhere, you better kill me. I'm not going anywhere with anybody.
That's what I... Well, see, that's what I kind of mean. I'm like,
No.
you try to say... I'm like, this is not happening. I am not going anywhere.
If they're going to take you somewhere, I'm going to assume the worst.
That's what I mean.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, you were not taking me anywhere, motherfucker.
That I'm going to end up on a board with a handcuff.
Right, I'm staying right here.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
You're not going nowhere. You're going to kill me.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. What was the next one? So, again, he moves again in June of 1972, I think this is. And then there were two more kids that they abducted at the same time, Billy Balch and Johnny DeLone. They were actually tied to Dean Corll's bed, and Henley actually strangled one of them. So he did, like, he wasn't just watching. He was, like, doing some shit, too. And he also shot the other one in the forehead.
Yeah.
And then... I don't think it killed him, though, because he was strangled, too. So...
I'm thinking in a situation like that, though, you have to. What's his name probably told him to do that. If he didn't do it, then he'd end up being dead. I'm just...
That's what I mean.
I think these kids
it really is like a gray area.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you have to think... Yeah, they went along with it and stuff like that, but you have to think these kids were, what, like 16, 17 years old? And one of them was 12 when they met the fucking guy.
Yeah.
And he'd been, like, hanging out with them all this time and having sex with them all this time. So...
You know how it is.
Yeah.
Don't trust gays. That's what Raider would say.
Probably.
Don't trust gays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because straight guys like him are so much
better.
Of course. That's so much better. Like, we should trust them instead. No, thank you. Yeah. All right. So then the next one, I think, was 19. His name was Billy Ridinger. Now, this guy, interestingly, at least according to David Brooks, he was actually raped and tortured, but at this point, Brooks said that he was able to persuade Dean to let this guy go. So, and I don't think he was one of the bodies that they found. So
there's one I'm out that was let go.
I guess so. According to one of the accomplices. That's what he said. Because like I said, this all comes from the accomplices because Dean is dead.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? So after he moved to this new address, they think that he killed about 4 more people. Stephen Sickman was one of them. There were 2 more boys from Houston Heights. That was in October of that year. And then there was a 19-year-old kid named Richard Kepner, and that was in November. So between February and November of 1972, there were 9 teenagers murdered. 5 of them were buried at High Island Beach. 4 were in the boat shed. Now, January of 1973, Dean moves yet again. So he had only been there a couple of weeks before he killed another one, a 17-year-old kid named Joseph Lyles. Then he left that apartment and moved again to the address where he would eventually be killed, which is the very famous 2020 Lamar Drive in Pasadena, Texas. That was March 7th. Now, interestingly, between February and June of 1973, they don't think he killed anyone, which is a very long period of time for him. Because, as I said, like, a lot of these murders were very, very close together. It was only like a few weeks or a month in between. Now, they think what might have accounted for some of this fallow time period was the fact that he had, I guess they looked at his medical records or something. He had something called a hydrocele.
What?
I didn't know what that was.
What is that?
So I looked it up.
Yeah.
Don't Google it. I'm going to tell you right now.
It's up in your booty, isn't it?
Close. It's actually in your testicle.
Okay.
It's kind of like, it's like a scrotal swelling.
Whoa.
Yeah. The weird thing about it is, like, I looked it up. They said it's actually really common. It's not life-threatening or anything like that. It's real common in, like, newborns, babies. But they said it can happen in, like, boys or older men, like, if there's some kind of, like, infection in their scrotum or something. Or an injury in their scrotum.
He didn't want to appear before the victim in an imperfect form. See.
I'm thinking that's what it was.
He wanted to look good during all this. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
he wanted to feel good
like,
about
I don't want my balls to be all swelled up or whatever. I don't know what it looks like. I didn't Google pictures of it.
He was embarrassed of that shit. He's embarrassed of that, man.
I don't want to see pictures of somebody's swollen fucking throat.
Can't be raping none of this boy pussy with his balls like this.
That's probably exactly what it was. And he didn't kill anybody all that time. Like, almost 6 months.
Nasty motherfucker.
Which is, like, unprecedented. And they think maybe that might have been why, because he had, like, some, like, scrotal swelling, which I guess was embarrassing for him. So, isn't that fucked up? Like I said, I didn't Google pictures of it. I don't want to see pictures of that shit. I just looked at the Wikipedia page.
He's insecure with himself. That never would have stopped me. Never would have.
Right, Dennis.
Yeah. That never would have stopped me. I'm a real man.
Oh, man. Oh, God. Do you think that Dennis Rader can, like, watch this show in prison? Do they let him watch YouTube?
They might let him have cell phones and tablets now. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think it depends on, like, if you can have privileges.
I don't think he has shit.
I don't think they give him those kind of privileges. They better not. Don't let him watch YouTube.
That dude's locked up.
Yeah.
He's like sitting there watching television in a big day room full of dudes in orange suits and shit. Just orange jumpsuits.
Yeah.
Without any air conditioning.
He better not have air conditioning.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
God,
it's up there. Saying. Yeah, there's this guy who keeps talking about me. His name's Thomm.
He does this impression of me. It doesn't sound like me. It's very insulting.
Yeah.
I'm very upset.
All they would have to do is write me. I will come on their show anytime.
Oh, shit.
I'll answer all their questions. I like Jenny. Yeah, I like Jenny.
Oh, no.
But that Thomm, nah. What they call an asshole.
Shit.
But I like Jenny. Yeah.
I'm not an asshole.
Yeah. I'm too drunk to do this.
I don't know. You're doing a pretty good job.
I think it's getting worse.
Do you think?
It sounded like it.
No, I think you're
I'm not going to channel. See, I can't impersonate Dennis. I have to channel Dennis. Got to channel it,
Don't channel him too hard because I don't want to be like tied up and
start shaving
murdered.
my head back and shit so I can have like a big faux like he has and shit. Some glasses, mustache.
A big 5 head.
Yeah. They're very upset.
Yeah, I don't think this is getting into like some fucking weird area right here. When we talk about channeling
him. Yeah.
Don't channel serial killers. Just a pro tip.
we need to do a paranormal special.
About channeling serial killers.
Channeling Dennis.
I'm okay
as a guest.
I'm gonna do it across the room though. You can stay over there. All right. So after the ball swelling incident.
Ball swelling.
Apparently, well, that's what it was.
Okay.
Right. I'm just telling you like it is.
He wanted to appear.
I'm not putting any sugar on it. I'm just saying.
He was embarrassed. He had to appear.
He had swollen balls.
He had to appear before those boys in his like 100%, shorn testicle, shiny, form. He didn't want any swelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to be pretty.
I guess.
That's what he did. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever, Dean.
He liked to be smooth, like a Greek statue. Smooth.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Both balls the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even, like I said, I don't even know how noticeable it is. I'm not good.
I don't know, man.
But, you know,
I'm just making this shit
and
up
like I said, if he's like just raped, because he would, I know this is horrible, but he would like tie them to the boards, like, you know, like on their stomachs and stuff like that. So it's like they're not fucking looking back there. I would be fucking, who's looking back there? You're getting raped and tortured. You're not looking at anyone's balls. Fucking hell.
This dude's probably in his mind. He's center stage, and all eyes are on him.
Yeah,
like
it's
a
like
great performer.
Yeah,
you know, talking about that he's the main attraction.
It's just funny to me that would even occur to somebody. It's like, yeah, people are like terrified and like fighting for their lives are really looking at your fucking swollen balls. Come on now.
Maybe it hurt. He couldn't be banging on him that hard.
I guess. Whatever. But yeah, so after that whole thing, T was out of commission for a long time, evidently. So after it kind of got better in June, I guess, then he starts like making up for lost time, right? So, you know, his Wayne Henley said later that he had gone off like on like a bloodlust like after that happened because he'd had to go so long without. Yeah. So he killed in the month between like the beginning of June and the beginning of July of 1973, he killed 3 more people. Now, at this point, July of 1973, after these 3 murders, David Brooks, he had a girlfriend who was pregnant, and they got married, and so Henley, like, kind of, or Brooks kind of, like, took off for a while to spend time with his new wife and baby, I guess, and so Henley was like, now he's the only one going out and getting victims. So after he was just doing it, then there were 3 more between July 19th and July 25th. So
he's killing them up
again.
pretty fast.
This, like, I mean, there's not much gap in between.
And he isn't a suspect at all.
No,
the cops aren't even looking for these kids.
No one would even know anything
until after
if Henley hadn't shot his stupid ass.
So they weren't even really looking for these guys.
No one was even saying, "Oh, there's a serial killer." Nothing.
That's police dereliction.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because the whole time, it's like a lot of these
the parents were reporting these boys missing.
A lot of these boys were reported missing. And like I said, it was all from like the same neighborhood, like the same area. Yeah. No one said boo. It's like
some cop was in charge and he's like, these kids are just smoking all that pot and they're running away.
They just said, they're just a bunch of white
They're running down to San Francisco. Hang out with them. What do they call them? The Beatles.
Hanging out with the Beatles in San Francisco. Yeah. That sounds like something like a stupid old cop.
Yeah, that's what they're thinking.
Back then. But so that's what kills me about this is that this was going on for years. All the kids were disappearing from pretty much the same area.
Yeah.
And cops were just like, man, they're all just running away. Who cares?
Guaranteed, it wasn't the cops with an S. It was one. It was you had a cop that had been promoted above his station. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Running that local area, and he made the decision, that's bullshit. Don't look for them. Yeah. They're just moving to another area.
Well, yeah.
That's all them hippies.
Like, it probably was like some higher up that was just like, oh,
That's bullshit. That's missing persons. They're running away.
We just want to sit around, like, fucking drinking coffee and not doing shit.
Well, you can look at it this way. They didn't have a body.
Yeah.
There's a lot of missing people. A lot of people move.
Yeah.
You know, they just move away.
And I guess
these are teenage boys.
In the early 70s.
In the 70s, they were thinking, they're smoking pot and they're running away. And they hadn't found a body.
That's exactly what they thought.
Had they found a body, maybe they would have, wait a minute, maybe they're not running away.
Yeah.
Been something like that.
Well, and like I said, when I get to the whole thing about, Dean getting killed and stuff like that, they didn't believe the fucking kid at first, too, when he came and told them what was going on.
Yeah.
So, So, August of 1973, Dean killed what is thought to be his last victim, which was a kid named James Dramala, who was only 13 years old. He was not lured. He was just riding his bike down the street in Pasadena, Texas, and was grabbed off his bike and put in the van. And he was raped, strangled, and tortured and buried in the boat shed. Now, a few days after this, only 4 days after this, as a matter of fact, August 7th, 1973. So, Elmer Wayne Henley is there. He was 17 at the time. He invites this other kid to Dean's house. The kid was named Timothy Curley. So he invites him to the party. Now, David Brooks was not there at this party. I guess he was still off with his girlfriend or whatever. But the two other kids, you know, they go to the house. They're like huffing paint and whatever it is they're doing and drinking. Whatever. They go out to get sandwiches. Then they go back to Henley's house. Now, he knows this girl who's 15. Her name is Rhonda Williams. Now, Rhonda comes out, and her dad is abusive, and she's like, you know, I don't really want to, you know, he's been beating up on me. I don't really want to stay in the house tonight. So Henley says to her, well, why don't you come stay at my friend Dean's house? You know, it'll be fine. You know, you don't need to be at your house or whatever.
He didn't think Dean was going to go kill her?
Yeah, that's, like I said, these are, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Not the brightest kids. So they take, so the two kids and Rhonda go to Dean's house they get there at about 3 a.m. Now, Dean is absolutely livid that Henley has brought a girl. Yeah. And he says...
Those icky girls.
Yeah, well, reportedly he said, you ruined everything. Right? So Henley, like, tries to chill him out. No, man, it's fine. It's like, you know, her dad was beating her up. She needed someplace to go. It's like, I didn't know where else to take her, blah, blah, blah. So then Dean seems to, like, calm down. He's like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. You know, have some beer, have some pot, whatever. They begin smoking pot and drinking and everything. And Dean's just, like, watching them. So after a while... the three teenagers, they all like drink a lot. And they all like fall asleep or pass out or whatever. Then while they're all passed out, Dean puts handcuffs on all of them and like handcuffs them all together, like ties them all together. So then
he didn't want no girls around.
Ooh.
The cat knocked the
camera over. Pookie, what are you doing back there?
Shame on you.
She's like, see, she wants to be on the show too. Why don't you come in front of the camera instead of behind it and knocking shit over all the time?
Damn.
What are you doing? He doesn't know.
Trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Oh, you know what it is?
Yeah.
When it fell, it knocked that down.
Kitty's like, I'm just saying, why are you moving it? I'm going to move it.
Okay. She's jumping.
Yeah, that was her little butt. All right. So, like, so they wake up. They're all tied up and tied together.
Dean was jealous of this girl.
Well, yeah. Well, he was like, yeah, you fucked up this whole thing. You brought this fucking 15-year-old girl here.
Yeah, yeah.
So he says...
kill all you bitches. You bring these girls around here.
So he says...
Stealing the limelight away from Dean. Dean, you know Dean thinks he's a sexy motherfucker.
Probably.
Yeah, he thinks he's a sexy motherfucker. He thinks all these boys love him.
Yeah.
Don't you bet?
Probably.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it does kind of sound like that.
Bringing them girls around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So he says, like, when they wake up, he's like, okay, well, now I'm gonna rape and torture Tim Curley, the 19-year-old, and then I'm gonna kill all of y'all. So then he starts kicking the girl in the chest. Then he takes Henley, who's his accomplice. He drags him in the kitchen. He like points a gun at him, and he says, "I'm gonna shoot you." Blah blah blah. And Henley says, "No, man. You go and do what you're gonna do to Tim, like you rape and torture him, and I'll do the same to Rhonda, just to show you that everything's cool."
Right.
Right. So that's what he said, because he thought that Dean was gonna shoot him. You know. So Dean says, "Okay, that's what we're gonna do then. That's the plan." So he unties Henley. Then he takes Tim and Rhonda into the bedroom. He ties them on opposite ends of the torture board. Then he gives Henley a knife, and he says, you know, cut Rhonda's clothes off. And then it's like, I'm going to go over here and rape and kill the guy, and you go over there and rape and kill the girl. So at that point, you know, Henley's doing as he's told. He cuts all her clothes off and everything like that. Tim starts like freaking out and yelling and everything. Now, Rhonda looks at Wayne Henley and says, is this for real? Like, is this really happening? Yeah. And he says, yeah, it is. And then she says to him, are you going to do anything about it? Mm-hmm. And I guess that kind of maybe snapped him out of it, because then Wayne says, okay, well, can I take Rhonda in the other room? Like, we need some privacy or something like that. And then Dean doesn't say anything to him. So then Wayne picks up Dean's gun and points it at him. Reportedly says, you've gone far enough. And then Dean just starts walking at him like, yeah, shoot me. You're not going to do it. Except he did. Bam! Right in the fucking forehead. So he shot him in the forehead. He shot him 2 more times in the shoulder. He starts sliding down the wall. And then he shot him like 3 more times in the back. just for
what did he do?
Just for good measure.
He left the pistol within arm's reach?
It was just laying around. Well, he was busy with the kid.
Okay.
Like raping the kid, and he just had the gun there, like by the side.
Okay.
So yeah. So Wayne just like picked it up and fucking shot him with it. So then he's like, so the three teenagers, they get them all untied and everything like that. They put their clothes back on. They're like, okay, shit. Now what are we gonna do?
I'd have run. I'd have said nothing.
Well, yeah. Like a couple. I think Tim said, yeah, we're not gonna say anything. Like fuck it. But Wayne actually said, no, we need to call the police. So as far as I know, they still did the 911 call, and he called and he said, he calls at like 8:30 in the morning on August 8th.
They went to jail over that. I would have just left.
Yeah, and he says, quote unquote, y'all better come here right now. I just killed a man. Yeah. Now, when the cops got there, he tried to explain like what had been going on. He's like, look, this guy, he probably didn't say he's a serial killer, but he just said he's killed all these people, self-defense, blah, blah, blah. Now, the cops did not believe him at first because, like I said, at this point, they were just like, oh, these boys run away. They didn't, like, know anything about it. But Henley said 3 names that the police were like, hey, those were missing persons cases that were on file, like, with the Houston Police Department. So maybe there's something to this story, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, they didn't believe him at first until he came up with those 3 names. Now Henley, like, he was perfectly willing to like go to, he said, I don't care who knows, I'm like sick of this whole thing. Right. And all this other stuff. So
he's willing to go to jail.
So he was willing to, like, he couldn't take it anymore. Right. Like I say, he's 17 years old. He's right. 17 years old kid. Now he's the one that kind of came forward and said pretty much like everything that had happened. Now Henley hadn't been in it since the beginning. Brooks had. Brooks came in later with his dad and turned himself in, like the other accomplice. Yeah. So between the two of them, they pretty much told the cops everything about what had been going on for the past 3 years. They knew where almost all the bodies were, and they went with the cops, like, to all they're like, look, we'll prove it to you. There's this boat shed, there's this thing on the beach, there's all this other stuff. They knew all the places, and cops went there and found pretty much all the bodies. So they knew that they weren't bullshitting. Now, the fucked up thing is that they ended up finding, I think, 27 bodies. But after they found 27 bodies, and like I said, they identified most of them. I think there are 2 or 3 that are still not identified. But after they found the 27 bodies, they stopped looking. And I always wondered if it was because, I know this is a fucked up thing to say, but prior to Dean Corll's body count, the highest body count was 25. The serial killer before that, I think his name was like Juan Corona or something like that.
Juan Corona,
from California. Yeah. So he had 25 murders. So I think like once they like broke the record, they were like, well, we found 27 bodies. Let's wrap this up. He's already killed more people than the best known, like the highest body count serial killer.
So there may have been more.
Well, they know that there were for sure at least 1 or 2 more. Yeah. Because a couple of them that Henley and Brooks knew that had been killed, their bodies were still like on the beach, and they were found like later. They were found like in the 80s, like by different people. One just got stumbled across and stuff like that. But had they kept looking in the 70s back then, they probably would have found them.
I remember one group of them. One group of them was buried underneath a storage shed.
It was a boat shed.
A boat shed, is that what it was? Okay, and
it was a boat shed. It was a lake cabin, and it was a couple beach locations.
And it wasn't very big. You know what I mean?
No,
it was maybe like 10 foot by 15 feet or something. And they said there was like 15 or 20 of them all buried right there underneath that same boat shed. Some of them like 2 or 3 thick.
Yeah,
2 or 3 bodies thick. On
it
top
was like
of each
I said.
other.
It was 4 different sites, and they were.
And some people were like, how the hell could nobody know about this? Because
that's what kills me.
Said that the ground was oily with residue from these damn bodies.
These sites.
They were all buried in the same spot, just rotten.
Yeah, there's like ones that was like 9 of them. There's like fucking 12 of them. There's like they were everywhere
in a small area, concentrated. They said the earth was like black and oily, and that whoever owned that boathouse should have known something was up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was rented to Dean Corll. I think he rented it. And the lake house where a bunch of bodies were buried, that was his parents' lake house.
Yeah.
Now, the beach, there were like 2 beach locations. I'm like, was that a private beach or a public beach? Because you think it was a public beach, there was a bunch of bodies buried there.
Yeah.
You'd think somebody would have come across. I mean, later on, somebody did come across one, like in 1983 or something like that. They found one of the ones of the known victims. They just hadn't found the body. But yeah, so it's fucked up. And a couple of the victims that they are pretty sure that he killed because the guy's missing and, you know, the accomplices remembered him killing them, a couple of them, they haven't found their bodies. Now, interestingly enough, like I said, those are just the ones that happened, like that the accomplices were there and that they saw or that they heard about. But prior to 1970, there is speculation that he might have killed however many people on his own. Because some people who worked at the candy place, like when it was still open, back in the, you know, mid to late 60s, they said that, you know, Dean would dig around a lot behind the thing, behind the company, like, you know, the building. And he always said, oh, I'm burying, like, this candy that's gone bad, like, to keep insects from getting in.
Yeah, sounds fishy.
Which, like I said, that sounds like a very fishy explanation.
It makes more sense that all this stuff with these accomplices and shit, that he'd worked up to this.
That's what I'm thinking.
He might have had a solo career, as you would...
Yeah.
Where he gained his confidence.
Right.
And really, he's becoming overconfident when he starts including accomplices and, you know, paying guys to bring him other guys. That's some ballsy shit. I mean, that's very risky.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, obviously, and it
whenever
was risky
somebody
for him
else
because he fucking shot him, didn't he? I mean, he couldn't take it anymore. I mean, and good for him. The shitty thing is that, like we were saying before, both those guys got, you know, life sentences, and I think that probably wouldn't have happened if Dean Corll was still alive to be punished, because I'm not saying they weren't culpable, but
wives of serial killers and the wives that had committed homicides actually have gotten off before, with just a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and really, and they weren't even minors.
Yeah.
So I don't really agree with this verdict.
I don't.
I mean,
either.
The oldest one was what, 18, and some of that.
Well, he was 17. The older one was 17 when he shot Dean Corll.
Okay, so the oldest one involved was 17. That's still a minor.
Now he didn't get convicted for the murder of Dean Corll because they said that was self-defense.
It was all, but it was all.
But
the
it
other
was
stuff.
he got in trouble for.
But I don't really agree with it, man, because I think he was under the influence of a monster. I think he was scared to death of that guy, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, like
he
I said,
probably
he
thought that
blame
dude
him.
was involved in a big old mafia of sex traffickers. And,
yeah, because he did kind of.
You know, and that he probably thought he had to go along with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of.
He got
feel
money
like
if he went along. If he didn't go along, that he'd end up dead. That's probably what he thought.
Which he probably would have.
He would have probably.
You know, but
had he gone to the cops, he probably would have. You know, he'd have been all right. It's just that he wasn't, for some reason, wasn't thinking clearly. I mean, he's 17.
Although the thing is,
he probably told him that. Well, no, some of the cops are in on this too.
Well, yeah, but if he'd gone to the cops, what if the cops didn't believe him?
Right.
Because even after he shot Dean, even after Henley shot Dean, the cops didn't believe him until he came up with the names of the missing, and they went and looked and found the bodies.
A 17-year-old isn't thinking clearly anyway.
True.
Even a sane one. And I think these guys were kind of driven insane with the shit that they saw.
Yeah.
I think he worked them into that.
Yeah, because it was several years.
Yeah.
But as I said, I'm kind of the opinion that Dean Corll probably killed some people, you know, killed some boys before he even got these accomplices in on it, like before 1970. Because like I said, when he was still working at the candy company, they were like, yeah, he used to bury all this spoiled candy, quote unquote, and then later on he cemented the floor over, and, you know, he was always digging around.
Did they ever check?
I don't think they ever checked.
Yeah.
You know, and he was always digging around in this, like, you know, waste ground that was over by a car park. It's like he had these big rolls of plastic sheeting, just like the rolls that he had later on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, which seems a little
suspicious
in light of later events, you know, all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's no way of knowing. They know that he killed 28 is at least 28, but they're like, it's probably
in the 30s.
Considerably more than that. As I said, you know, when he was killed, that was like the highest body count. I think he's been surpassed so far. Didn't the Green River Killer kill more than that, didn't he?
I think so.
But at the time, like he said, he beat the record, I guess, which is a fucked up, you know, that's a fucked up metric. But yeah, he beat the record of I think his name was Juan Corona, right? That Californian serial killer. I think
He had
killed 25 people.
I don't remember that.
So, as I said, when they were looking through all of his shit, like after he died, they found like all these pornographic photos. There were 16 different individuals in these photos. 11 of them were bodies that they had found. So they knew that those were the victims.
He was taking porn pictures of.
Yeah. But which is weird because the accomplices said they didn't remember him like photographing or filming any of them.
Well, were they dead or alive when he was taking pictures of them?
Alive.
Okay.
So, yeah, so he must have been doing some shit like when they weren't around, I don't know what it was. But the other 5, they never found out who they were, as far as I know. However, they still have not linked him to any like
maybe he didn't kill everybody.
Well, he did I think for sure he did let that one kid go, at least according to one of the accomplices. He said that he had like talked him into letting that one guy go. But yeah. So I don't know if he was like involved in a bigger ring or if he just said that like to keep people in line. Like I said, the fact that there were 5 of these kids in pictures that they don't know who they were, like they don't correspond to any of his known victims or any of the bodies that they found, you know, that could mean that those were other people that he killed. Those were kids that he was trading pictures with other dudes. I don't really know. You know, I
think he was alone.
Yeah, I kind of suspect that too. But, you know,
those were kids. Those were people that he killed solo.
Yeah.
Or maybe some of them he let go. Then there was that one that was really disturbing of the kid, that 6 or 7-year-old kid tied to that board.
Yeah.
With a toolbox next to him.
See, that, yeah.
They never did identify who that little kid was.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
He's just looking up, trying to pull. He's pulling on his wrist to get free, and he's looking up at the camera. It's weird. Bad.
It's fucking, yeah, that's like fucking messed up. But yeah, so, I mean, this whole fucking case is messed up. I mean, I'm interested in this one, and like I said, it's interesting to me because he killed so many people, yet he's not like a household name, and I think we've talked about this before. I'm kind of curious as to why certain serial killers somehow catch on, like, with the public, well, even though they didn't necessarily kill more people than...
He was dead by the time the early 70s rolled around, and the serial killer thing wasn't culturalized, I think, at that time, so he might have been a little late.
Yeah, it could be.
And it wasn't as, say, sensational as, like, Ed Gein, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's still pretty horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... Yeah.
Maybe because it was all... homosexual stuff that
maybe people were like
went underneath the
radio,
went underneath the radar for some reason.
Because, like I said, I think I kind of thought that when we were talking about the family murders from Australia, I think that kind of happened there too.
It's because the victims weren't female.
Maybe that's what it is.
If the victims were female, maybe it's more sensational for the media. You know what I mean? People pay more attention to it because they're just teenage boys. Like fuck them boys.
Yeah, because people, they do always say, oh, hey, a little pretty white girl got killed. Yeah. You know? And it's like all over the fucking news.
Plus,
so like a little boy or somebody of another race gets killed, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, well.
It's sad, but
a lot of it, well, it's a product that they're marketing through demographics.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's the way TV worked. Yeah. And,
well, they figured that's who was watching it.
Right.
Was middle-class suburban white people.
Yeah, and then...
They're like, this could be your daughter.
And if I remember correctly from the photos of the boys were basically kind of like teenage pothead kind of kids. Yeah. So they weren't like, it's not like you're doing this to fucking, Wally Cleaver. You know what I'm talking about? These aren't,
yeah.
These weren't,
or Beaver Cleaver.
Yeah, these weren't like the what do you call them? These weren't the yuppies, Yeah. They weren't the normal middle class kids. They were kind of like hippie looking type of
well,
kids,
and they were a little lower socioeconomic status, and
they had long hair.
People care less about that when they're victims, I think.
They look like a member of Black Sabbath or something. A lot of them. So for some reason they just they said, well, these kids aren't marketable. Nobody's going to really be all that sympathetic to them because this doesn't strike at the heart of Middle America. These aren't regular kids. These are kind of the pothead kids.
Even though they were
they were asking for it. We're going to say like
that's
they
what
were
I mean.
Asking
well,
for
no,
it.
It's true because like some of them would be like, well, if you hadn't like gone up to some stranger's van and
smoking pot,
going over to his house smoking pot, that wouldn't happen to you. It's the same kind of thing that like fucking girls get. Well, if you were at that party like drinking and wearing that short skirt, you wouldn't get raped.
And then there might have been that kind
victim blaming.
There might have been kind of that element. Well, those kids must have been gay. There might have been something like that. You know what I mean?
It probably was.
Kids
That's
were gay.
horrible.
They were gay. You know, we don't worry about them.
Well, that was another reason I wanted to do this show, because I do feel like, I don't know, like, I do feel like these kind of crimes, and that's why I want to do the family murders, too, because they kind of don't get the same fucking publicity.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, look at the fucking publicity Ted Bundy got, because he killed pretty white girls. Yeah. Like, pretty college white girls.
The mentality of that time, I think, probably, they said, well, if that guy was raping those boys must have been gay. I think that might have been
Which is a really fucked up thing to think.
It must have been gay. Trading sex for drugs, and that's how that went down. So
guess.
they probably rationalized it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got what was coming to them, you know.
Right. Yeah, whatever.
You're not supposed to be gay, you know. Yeah, well, you know, that's gay people, you know, they do that.
Oh, God.
Dennis Rader.
Fucking Dennis.
Dennis Rader jumping in with his 2 cents. Well, if they'd gone to church, we have a good program at our church that can help gay people.
We can pray the gay away.
Yeah, we'll pray the gay away.
Oh, man.
I'm in charge of that program.
Yeah, I'll bet you are.
I've straightened out 3 gay men in my time.
Oh, God.
They're all married now. Imagine that shit. Dennis Rader.
I don't have to imagine it. I can imagine. Well, you know, I can imagine that's probably how it went. He would do some shit like that.
Fuck yeah, he would.
He seems exactly like the type of person that would run that type of program.
Yeah, after he'd taken pictures of that dead woman in the church.
Yeah.
Remember how he took this porn off?
Yeah, he dragged her into the fucking basement.
Dragged it, but take pictures of her on the church computer, and he goes, "Oh, we gotta put this away because I gotta help Marty become straight. Marty, come in here, man. We gotta pray, man. We'll pray it away.
Let me clean this blood off the wall."
Yeah. Fucking Dennis.
And fucking this dude. God.
Yeah.
We talk about like the fucking worst of humanity, man. It makes me feel so normal. Because I'm just like, I can't fucking fathom it. Like, I find it fascinating, but at the same time, I just
well, they've got problems. They've got sexual problems.
That's quite an understatement there, Dennis. Thank you very much. This has been Dennis Rader on the 13 O'Clock podcast. Our special guest.
Special guest Dennis
who
Rader.
is giving us some insight into the mind of the serial killer and how they have sexual problems and how they get very upset.
And don't be gay.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
That's the lesson that Dennis Rader wants you to take away from this entire
You have to understand something about gay people. Gay people are not with the Lord. The Lord doesn't approve of that. Binding, torturing, and killing, that's kind of a different thing, you know what I mean? Technically, I know it's a sin, but...
Technically. I thought you were going to say something else. I was pausing.
Dennis was going to say something, but
Dennis was going to say something. Oh, he's gone. Oh,
yeah, he's gone now.
We're going to have a seance. Yeah. Well, we can't. He's still alive, so I guess we can't have a seance. You can't have a seance and like channel living people, can you?
Mm-hmm. When they're in prison, you can.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, if the guy's in prison,
I wasn't sure what the rule was.
Because they're like kind of like the living dead or the walking dead. They're not really like living a normal life. They're just like institutionalized.
Okay.
So part of their soul is free for access. I could channel it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how that worked, but thanks for clearing that up.
Fucking pull it out of my ass right now. Yeah.
There it is. He pulled it right out of his ass. All right.
Makes me suspect, Thomm. Thomm, are you pulling things out of your ass? You're gay, aren't you?
No, gay is putting things in your ass.
Well, to get them out, you had to put them in. I wasn't always the dog catcher, you know. Fucking drunk, fucking talking in Dennis Rader's voice.
You're killing me right now.
Why don't you go ahead and wrap this up, Jen?
Yeah, I was going to say.
So me and you can spend some time together.
Aw. Well, wait. Are you going to be you or are you going to be
Dennis?
I don't want to spend any time with Dennis. That does not sound like a good time. That's not how I want to spend my Friday night. I don't want to be...
you know how it is. It's Friday night, you know. Everybody's got problems.
Are you going to get upset?
You might get upset. I'm not going to get upset.
I think I am going to get upset. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay.
All right. So we're wrapping up this show about the revolting Dean Corll, who is thankfully dead.
Yeah, fuck him. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. You too, Dennis.
Yeah.
You get out of this conversation like you're so much better. Piss off my show. All right. So that'll do it for episode 138. Remember, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe on all your social media. Share it with all your friends, family, acquaintances, even people you hate. That's pretty awesome, too. If you would like to financially support the show, it would be greatly appreciated. You can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/13o'clock podcast.
I would like to say it behooves you.
It behooves me.
I'm talking to the audience now.
Okay.
This is not an advertising-based program. This is all about patrons. And it behooves you to give money to Thomm and Joanie. If you like the show, you like the show. If you like the show and you have Patreon and you can send money to Patreon, and I would send money to Patreon, but I'm locked up. So if you want to hear more about paranormal stuff, and I'm not really too big into paranormal stuff, but if you want to hear paranormal stuff and you want to hear, unsolved mysteries, and you want to hear about people that have sexual problems, and if you want the show to continue, I would recommend that you would send some money on Patreon.
Thank you, Dad.
Or PayPal.
Yeah, PayPal would be good too. If you don't like Patreon.
Yeah, because we're not talking about government checks here. I worked for the government. That's where my authority came from. But things have changed today. The economy is different. We've got a different president now that I've been locked up, and what you need to do is you need to send money to Thomm and Joanie on Patreon. Now it's just about that. PayPal. It's about that time last call is happening, and they're going to lock up the cells. So I've got to get back.
So you have to go back.
Well, I've got to read the Bible, say my prayers, and make sure that I do my part to improve the world as much as I can as a retired dog catcher and serial killer.
You have a lot to
contribute. So go ahead and take it away, Jerry. Go ahead and take it away.
Right.
I didn't mean to upstage you like that.
That's all right.
Yeah, I didn't mean to upstage
Tell
you.
the truth. You're digging a hole in the wall of your cell behind that poster of Rita Hayworth, aren't you?
No. I don't want to escape, really. She won't take me back. And I don't think I can find proper employment.
Yeah, probably not.
So it's better where I am right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're being the best you that you can be.
Plus, I've got a lot of friends here now. I've got a lot of friends here.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
They admire you.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I help them and they help me.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jenny. Take it away.
Thank you. Well, like Dennis said.
Like Dennis said it. Yeah.
You can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/13o'clock podcast, or if you don't like Patreon for whatever reason, that's fine too. You can go to our blog, 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com, and there's a little button in the sidebar where you can go to a PayPal account if you'd like to give a one-time donation, just like Melanie does sometimes. Again, thank you.
You don't have any sexual problems.
Yeah.
Of course.
Fucking sexual problems. All right. And remember to check out all of our products over at our Zazzle store, zazzle.com/13o'clock podcast. We have lots of cool shirts and glasses and pillows and all kind of fun shit. So go check them out. Also go check out The Game Crafter and go to my site called Giallo Games, Giallo, and I have 3 different games there with some expansion packs for 2 of the games. If you want to check those out, all kind of like murder mystery type games if you like that type of thing. And that'll do it for our latest episode about serial killer Dean Corll, episode 138. And take it away, Dennis Rader.
I'd just like to say goodbye to all you people.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to the show. And the next, you'll see me around. All right, you'll see me around.
I'm looking forward to it, Dennis. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny.
You're very welcome, Dennis. We will see you next time. Bye.